Okay, everybody, we're back with Willie Bradley and our featured guest on A Conversation With. We left off with Willie telling us, or starting to tell us about Paris and what led up to that and the importance of that for him in his journey. Um, During this segment, what Willie will do also is address new ones that are coming in with a struggle that might perhaps be financial struggle. Perhaps it might be such as he painted a picture of himself with alcoholism, maybe drugs. We don't know. We all have our own private struggles. But this one I'm very impressed with from Willie. So we're going to give our attention to Willie, and he's going to talk to us about that. And then we'll be talking about his new CD, Another Day and Time. Okay, Willie, why don't you join me here? Okay, why don't you take off from where we left off at? Okay.
Okay, we'll do. As we were talking, we had just gotten together with the church group called Kingdom Builders. My pastor got us together to do an event in church, and it was for the couples ministry, and they wanted to do something different, so they wanted live entertainment. So the pastor got me to get the guys together and rehearse in the church, and we rehearsed all of the gospel songs that we were doing. And when we were in the rehearsal, I got the guys to agree to do some of the contemporary jazz tunes that we were doing as a Willie Bradley trio. And what that did was it sparked immediately the chemistry that we had prior to us breaking up. So we started doing gospel events, and after that, a few months later, we decided to get back together and started playing some more contemporary jazz tunes, and we decided that we wanted to go back out and try it again. And we gave ourselves a name called Essential Elements. And from there, we started doing engagements in the city again, and with the blink of an eye, we were right back where we picked up from. In less than a month, we were booked every weekend when they found out I was playing again. And things took off, and we had a little new meaning about what we were trying to do. We all had grown spiritually, and we're all in a different place. And once again, we rose to the top of the heap again. And we did a lot of stuff, like we put on our own events, and that went well for a little while until I wanted to do something different. My focus and my dreams were one thing, but they were stuck and happy with being at the top of the heap, just right in the Fayetteville area. My dreams and my hopes were to do a contemporary jazz CD with or without the group. At that time, it was doing one with the guys, because I felt like because I was the one that broke the group up, that I had to fix it by obligating myself to a CD project with them. That went okay for a little while, but then, their dreams weren't my dreams and their vision weren't my vision. So I ended up having to take another avenue at getting my project done, because I was not going to stop. Once I got started, once I saw what the vision that God gave me, I was not going to go backwards.
And of course that happens, we hear often of groups going in different directions.
Yep.
And certainly you support that. I support that if you feel that you're not meeting together. And that's the important thing, is that people meet together for the same cause.
Mm-hmm.
Now, while you and the other two guys had the same cause, it just was a different venue.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I just wanted to do a little bit more than what they were doing, and I knew that my heart was not going to just let me sit and keep doing that, because we were just going playing local venues in a circle, in a circle, in a circle, the same venues. And I'm looking at all of my friends, and they're playing around the country, and they've got their own CD, and they're doing all these other wonderful things. And I'm like, man, that's what I want to do. And so finally, I gave the guys, let them know what I was going to do. I was like, man, I've got an opportunity from this young gentleman, young producer in the industry, in the contemporary jazz industry. His name is Nicholas Cole. He gave me an opportunity to do a solo project. He wanted to produce and co-write it with me, and because he's trying to get some credits in the industry as a producer. So I decided to take Nicholas up on his offer. And I told the guys what I was going to do, and I don't think they believed me, because we had done so much together, and we were loyal to each other. But it came to a point, man, where I had to say, well, if I don't do this project now, I don't know if I'm ever going to get it done, because everything was falling in place and everything was lining up, except for one small thing. It was that I didn't have the finances to complete a solo project. So I prayed about it, and I asked God to show me, how can I come up with this money to do this project. And I came up with an idea with sending a letter to, some people, some close friends, and finding out if they'd be supportive. And what I did was I got the letter done, drawn up very professionally. I had a friend draw it up. I went to the store, bought stationery, matching envelopes, labels, typed everything out. And so happened our church had just taken pictures, and we had a directory. It just came back brand new with everybody, all the church members, address, phone numbers.
Okay.
Man, I went through that directory, and every name in the directory, I sent them a letter on a Monday. And the Sunday when I got in the church, I was like, okay, well, Lord, let's see what's going to happen. Before I could sit down with my trumpet in church, two people came up to me and gave me two envelopes. I opened the envelopes, and one had $100 check in it, the other one had $100 check. And then as the collection plate went around, two more people stopped by when they were going to the collection plate and gave me two more envelopes. And then after church, I got another one. And at the end of church, I had $500.
My goodness.
And I knew that I was on the right road. God gives us signs to move forward. He gives us the vision, and it's up to us to go through with it. Sometimes we just don't have enough faith to go through with it. And I called Nicholas that Sunday, and I said, Nicholas, I got the $500, because Nicholas, it was $500, and I would have a complete track, and the song would be complete. So each song was $500 basically. That was his deal he gave to me. Hey man, I went to the studio that Thursday, and our very first song we completed was Another Day in Time.
Wow.
That's how I got started.
Well, that is just so fascinating. I recently played one of Nicholas Cole's. I think it's probably the most recent one on one of my groups. And to be honest with you, I hadn't heard Nicholas Cole.
Mm-hmm.
I heard him outside of the group, and I listened, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Very
and
beautiful.
So very talented.
Very talented.
So multi-talented.
Yes.
And much like yourself. And so that's the thing. We have directions that we must all go in. And one man's Cadillac may be another man's Ford.
That's right.
And vice versa.
Right.
So, but you need to always broaden your horizons.
Right.
And I see that's what you're doing, Willie Bradley. I don't know if the audience can see your. I don't need you to look back, but I need them to look behind you,
right.
And see Another Day and Time, and bring that to their attention, because it is the trumpet that you play, right?
It is a trumpet, yes.
And we've been enjoying listening. Well, I should say the audience has been enjoying listening as we were on break.
Right.
And by the way, guys, we had a wonderful lunch together.
It was good.
And we were able to spend some time talking about a few other things. I'm just going to let Willie continue telling us about, I think we're up to Paris now, right?
Yeah, we're there.
Okay.
We're about there. During the process of me doing Another Day in Time, my album was not only 2 months off of the press, not even 2 months, being released, the first single, and making ends meet. I took a couple gigs with a friend of mine who I went to college with. His name is Leroy Harper, and he played in the James Brown band for 15 years prior to James Brown dying. So we got together and we did a couple gigs together. And he said, "Man, I think the James Brown band is about to get back together." And he said, "There's a possibility that we're gonna need a trumpet player if the other one's not healthy enough to go." So I said, "Man, I expressed real clear that, hey man, I want you to put my name in the pot."
Willie, what is the average age of the James Brown group?
They're about, I'll say 35, 36.
So they're 35 and 36.
Yeah, they're mature adults.
Okay.
I think the oldest one is about 60. The one guy, his name is Fred Thomas. He's played with James Brown for 40 years.
My.
The music director, Keith Jenkins, has played for 24 years. George Spike Neely, the percussionist, he's played 27 years.
So you were around some heavy hitters, weren't you?
Yes. And I'll tell you what, I have mad respect for them, because they were the hottest act in the world. They're very well traveled. I sat on a tour bus with them, and we talked about, man, all the places they had gone, and I was like, well, have you been this place? Have you been this place? And I'm just imagining in my mind, they were in Moscow, and I was like, man, I just only seen Moscow on TV. And they said, well, I was like, well, where else have you been? And they showed me some of their passport books, and during the course of the years they've traveled, they've had like 6 and 7 passport books because they've filled them. All stamped out. And I got my little passport with one stamp.
But you got that stamp.
But I got that stamp.
Well, there's always a beginning.
There's always a beginning. But I have mad respect for the musicianship. I got the call one day, and the number came up, and it was, it was an Ohio area code, and the gentleman said, "Are you Willie Bradley?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "You got a passport?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Can you check your calendar to see if you're available for these dates?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I'm available for these dates." And I said, "Well, who is this?" He said, "I'll call you back on Friday." So that was on a Wednesday.
He didn't tell you who
He didn't
was?
tell me who he was. So I'm sitting, and I'm like, did I just get a call from someone, And so I called Leroy, my friend in the band. He said, "Well, nobody's called me yet." He said, "Willie, what did they say?" He said he's going to call me back on Friday. So he said, "Wait till Friday." So that was the longest 2 days I had to wait. And man, Friday came, and the same number came up, and I dropped my phone because I saw the number, and he wasn't there when I picked the phone up. So I was so nervous when I picked the phone up. I called him back. I said, "Did somebody call Willie Bradley from this number?" He said, "Yeah, man, this is RJ from RJ Roosevelt Johnson from the James Brown Band." And he said, "Mr. Bradley, I'm gonna need you to send me."
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
He said, "Mr. Bradley, I'm gonna need you to send me the signature page and the picture page of your passport, and 2 pictures, 2 passport pictures. Excuse me, because if we stay in France longer than 3 weeks, then you're gonna have to get a work visa." I was like, "So did I get the job?" He said, "Man, what do you think?" So I busted out laughing. I was like, "Oh my God!" So I had to try to, hold my composure. Like, yeah, I'm going to France. It was funny. Let me tell you what, that was the most incredible moment in my life. It was a dream come true. Hey, my CD had just came out, and it was playing all over the radio, and then I'm going to Paris with none other than the James Brown Band.
The James Brown Band. Paris. CD coming out.
All of that at once.
All at once.
All of that at once. All in the same day. It kind of happened all in like the same day. It was incredible.
But yet it didn't blow your head up.
It didn't blow my head up. Once you're spiritually grounded, It was like, hey man, I've done this work. I know I've done the work to get there, and it's like, it's time. And everybody's telling me, Willie, it's your time. And but you had to be spiritually prepared to do it. Had I tried to do anything like this when I was using, I would have sabotaged my whole. I would have just messed everything up.
Because you thought you didn't deserve it back then.
Mm-mm.
But now you realize that you do.
Yep.
And you said something very true. We will wind up sabotaging ourselves.
Right.
Because we feel we don't deserve it.
Right.
And so, but when you give yourself, surrender yourself to the cause in mind, knowing that there's someone greater than you,
That's right.
Someone greater than your music.
That's right.
Someone greater than the drugs.
That's right.
Someone greater than the alcohol.
Absolutely.
But you surrendered yourself to that one. Am I correct?
You hit the nail on the head.
Okay, so then when all these things came, the only thing you could do, as Hezekiah said, I'm grateful.
I'm grateful.
Grateful. Grateful.
That's it.
Yes.
I got on my knees and I thank God. And, to have that happen to me, the feeling is indescribable.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes the quality of your faith go up. Mm-hmm. Even more than what I had. You can have quantity of faith, but when the quality of faith, that puts me in a state of expectancy every day. When I get a call, to say somebody, hey man, Willie, we want you in Los Angeles, California this week. I said, okay. It's like it's supposed to happen. And it's not arrogance. It's just like, hey, mm-hmm. It doesn't. It surprises me, but it doesn't surprise me. And the thing is, I'm prepared.
Mm-hmm. I was once told something, really. I'm constantly relating with things that you say, and it reminds me of maybe an instance in life when you're given a compliment. I was never comfortable with that, mm-hmm. personally, but the older woman said to me, she said, "Now, dear, you're going to have to learn how to accept a compliment.
Right.
You're going to have to learn to say thank you and move on. Because if it was something in my attire, I would say thank you, but then I'd put it down. Mm-hmm. So I don't hear you putting yourself down. I hear you being grateful, saying thank you, and moving on. And so that's accepting what's happening to you graciously.
Right.
We can all see that that's what's happening to
right.
you, Willie.
Mm-hmm.
In the midst of our visit, you've been getting phone calls. You've been getting all kinds of wonderful things about perhaps may happen for your future.
Right.
And I'm excited about that. But what I'm most excited about is seeing you so excited about it.
I get I'm like this every day. I'm like, when the Lord restores you, He restores your heart. It's like I have a heart of a 10-year-old. And, here I'm 51. And it's like, man, I'm a big kid.
Willie, it's refreshing. I mean that. It's very refreshing.
It is.
So let's go on and chat just a little bit more about where you left off at. I interject every now and then because you do that to me. So I want to let you know that I understand. And I'm sure that those that are listening out there in our listening audience, they understand as well or can relate or feel just as joyful from listening to the sound of your voice as some will be doing that are listening on the radio and not literally seeing us on our TV channel.
Okay.
So continue on.
Well, after receiving the call, it was like I was on cloud 9 for forever. And then the day I got my plane ticket, it even boosted it even more because, you can stay where, until the reality set in that, hey, man, I was actually going to France. I didn't have my ticket yet.
Well, no.
But then I got the confirmation of my ticket.
Uh-huh.
Hey, man, that's like, oh, my God. I put it on Facebook. I put it all over the place. And that was a good day. And, then a couple weeks after that, I got a practice CD with all the James Brown songs on it. And I started learning the music. And and really, really taking it serious. And to actually hear, I indulged myself in the CD to hear it because I heard Mr. Brown's voice, and it was live performances of him with all the breaks in the songs, and it was him. You know what I'm saying? My God, I got his. You know, you can listen to a CD or a tape of Mr. Brown, but to hear an actual live recording of him, hey man, that was, I got chills hearing him. And so when we all ended up in the airport together to fly to Paris, you could see the guys in the band coming up one by one, and they were hugging, and it was the biggest reunion. They had not seen each other since Mr. Brown's funeral.
Oh, and how long ago?
That's been 7 years ago. Christmas Day, Mr. Brown died, and they hadn't seen each other since then. And to see that reunion, and they knew I was the new guy because I was the only new person in the band. The other trumpet player that was the music director, Harley Ferris, he was not able to make the gig because of whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And they called my name to do it. And
what a privilege you had.
Yep. And I had mad respect, and I was nervous. You know, I was like, I didn't have any questions about being able to do it. You know, but when we flew the 8 hours over there, and then we had an 8 hour tour bus ride to the next city where we had to get set up and everything. Hey man, it was like we were like physically, you know, exhausted. But we had to, you know, everybody was so running on adrenaline. We got into the sound check the next day after a short night's sleep, and they got the stage set up and everything, and we had a sound check, and that was the most nervous moment of my life. Here I am, I'm looking
before.
And I'm seeing all these guys. I mean, and they got the music, and they started talking about they're putting a set together, and then they started playing the music, and then I was like, wow, this is incredible. I'm playing with the James Brown Band.
Oh, that's a perfect place for us to stop.
Okay.
We'll have a break and then we'll return.